Watching severe weather tonight, storm tracker Charles Peak in Dewey, Oklahoma, under a severe thunderstorm watch. This is actually near Copen. This is right near the Kansas-Oklahoma state line. So this is northern Oklahoma. You can see lowering cloud bases here. It looks like his camera may actually be still right now. This sometimes happens when you're in a rural location. You don't get the greatest cell phone coverage, but numerous severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings have been issued across the plains today. I want to update you on some of the most pressing issues right now, including tornado warnings outside of Bartlesville and very near Tulsa as well, north side of Tulsa. This is a very impressive signature on radar. Couple of things to point out here. Down here is the hook echo. This is north side of Tulsa. North of that, you're going to get a hail core right in here, and we could be looking at very large hail. Look at that little comma shape down to the bottom there. That's a very well-defined hook signature, and we could be looking at a tornado right near Turley. This could be coming almost right over top of you, and you can see stronger areas of hail up near Sperry. So look here, you can see it looks like a small rotation, but a rotation nonetheless right in the center of that. So we could likely be looking at a tornado here that's tracking near the Turley area. Please take shelter as fast as you can with the possibility of a tornado right on top of you. Look at the large hail core here. That's a very large hail core, and coming right over top of you here in Turley and in Sperry. Could be looking at 1 inch or greater hail here, maybe even as large as golf ball size, which could do some damage to your vehicle, can do damage to your roof. Tulsa County, that's your tornado warning. Owasso, Sperry, and Turley, all locations in the path of the storm and places that need to take shelter. Our warning is until 7:30 tonight. We'll keep a very close eye on that. Another very well-defined appendage down to the south on this tornado warning in Newada and Washington counties here. This coming now on its way toward Newada and near Delaware as well. And actually, let's go back to the other warning, can we, Ryan? Getting word now, National Weather Service is actually indicating tornado on the ground with this particular one right here, and we thought there could be. Dr. Forbes, I know you're with us here. What do you make of this signature right here that's right along Highway 75 right now? The Weather Service reporting tornado in progress right now.
Yeah, I had spotted that a couple of minutes ago, Mike, and it certainly had tightened up the rotation considerably compared to what it had been, say, 10 minutes ago. So definitely a strong rotation there. What I'm doing as we speak here is to look and see if we've got a debris signature that is showing up on that. Yeah, it does look as if we now have a debris signature also that is shown up on this particular storm. So it looks like a tornado in progress and indicated debris. Yeah, with the debris signature showing up on radar.
Just north side of Tulsa here. We're looking at some of the cameras out there. We have some in Arkansas and Oklahoma. We don't have anyone near the Tulsa one right now. But Dr. Forbes, this area, you know, of Tulsa, we've got a highly populated center here. We're coming over a highway right now that could be well traveled.
Yeah, it's coming across Highway 75 southeast of Turley.
So this, and actually that rotation looks like it's getting even more well defined here, Dr. Forbes.
Yeah, it really does, yeah.
There's a look at, when we look at that right there, Dr. Forbes, what exactly are we looking for to tell that we've got debris in the tornado?
Well, let's go to, if we can, pull up Max 7, and I can show you that. Let's go to my telestrator here, and we'll put that on air. So coming right across Highway 75, reds going westbound, blues and greens going eastbound. So then I'll advance that, and we'll see that right in there, there's this bluish core. The reds indicate precipitation, so there's our little rain curtain wraps around that. But then coming right across the Highway 75 and just slightly to the west, all of this blue here suggests that there's some debris showing up with that is being tossed up by a tornado in progress at that location.
All right, so coming across potentially Highway 75 right now. We put, Ryan, can we put some of the tracker on this? I want to show people, oh, here we go. I want to take a look at the 3D radar. This is a really good depiction of what could be going on here. So this is Tulsa down the bottom of your screen here. Here's Owasso. What we could be looking at is the tornado. There's the hail core right there, but the tornado back in there, right there. So you can see how it's separated from the real storm itself. It's now on the southern edge here. That's down where the hook echo is right now. And if we're seeing that, and look at the separation right there being the inflow notch on that, and then the really the air wrapping into that and causing that rotation. Potential tornado in progress north side of Tulsa. We're going to keep monitoring this and be back in just a few minutes with our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. We have a breaking weather situation north side of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Storm spotters confirming a tornado on the ground, likely doing damage, Dr. Forbes.
Yeah, indeed, it has been spotted, as well as having a debris signature showing up with that. That's the southern of the 2 tornado warnings in Oklahoma. There are 3 in Arkansas and 1 in Louisiana. Those other 5 are all Doppler radar velocity indicated, but this one has had a spotted tornado with that. We're talking the Tulsa County with a tornado warning now, and it's being extended to include the next county over, which is Rogers County. The tornado is back on the hook echo right about in there, right at the very end. Probably that little spot right there is what I would call the little tiny debris ball of that tornado as the hook precipitation wraps around, and the little ball right in that area. So we're talking about the area between Tulsa, northeast of Tulsa, southwest of Owasso, and right now just to the southwest of Owasso. It's going to go into the area just to the south of Claremore and then continue east. Tracking this, zooming in, here's what we're seeing, a tight couplet here. The reds and yellows going westbound, the blues going eastbound, and that I'll leave that on there. You can see that it has a very well-defined debris signature. The reds are precipitation that I was talking about. That's the hook that is wrapping around a tornado that is in progress right there. So it's indicated by human spotters, by velocity signature, tornado velocity signature, a vortex signature, and a tornado debris signature as well. Heading toward the Highway 169 area. That will be well to the east of the Turley area, and then continuing south of Owasso.
Would you mind if I stopped you there for just a second? I want to show you a 3-dimensional radar and see if you can analyze this for us. This is a Max 45, guys, and tell us what you see here. That's that warning near the Tulsa area. What do you see in this 3-dimensionally?
Well, that big arch that you see there is where the updraft is coming up in the area between Tulsa and Owasso. That's the updraft that comes up. No, the lower reflectivity area. So where Ryan has drawn the white there that's the precipitation that is wrapped around the rotating updraft. There it is in the screenwriter. So the updraft comes up here, forms a precipitation arch. This low return area is called a vault, and then this southern part of that arch is where the rear flank downdraft is wrapped around. Some precip is falling to the ground. So the tornado forms along the edge right in there. So part of this may be precipitation, part of this may be tornado right there. This is the main hail body of the storm that's moving around toward the east.
So if this is headed in your direction, you know, would you be obscured by it and then you'd see hail first or rain first? Do you think this would be fairly visible to the naked eye?
Well, the places you would see it if you're to the south, you would see it if you're to the east. If you're too far to the north and east, you could be in the hail and be obscured. But places anywhere from southwest to south to east would probably be able to see this. Well, probably be able to see this coming. There's a little bit of a rain curtain that wraps around it, but I don't think it would be an obscuring type of rain curtain. It might make it just look a little bit fuzzy.
Is there any way to tell how large a tornado can be when you look at this on radar?
There probably is. Let me, while I'm talking here, go over to my high resolution radar and put a couple of markers, put a marker on there, and it's about the debris ball is about 1 mile wide. I can't show it on air, Rich. I don't have it queued up for that.
Dr. Forbes, when we look at the correlation coefficient here, can you point out to our viewers exactly where the debris may be in this scan?
Yeah, the debris is there. So this part is about 1 mile wide. So probably the tornado could be maybe a 1/4 mile wide within that, or a 1/2 mile at most. Usually that debris signature is wider than the individual tornado.
So this came across Highway 75, could be headed now south of Owasso, or maybe very near Owasso, toward Highway 169 here. So if someone is in their vehicle, it's the last place they want to be right now. But to you, you know, radar signature confirmed by chasers, there's no doubt that people need to take immediate action here.
No doubt that there needs to be action, and it's probably getting very close to Highway 169. That's going to be about 2 miles south of the center of Owasso as it crosses across the highway there. And keep in mind that our radar is always a couple of minutes behind, sometimes as much as 5. So it is probably getting very close to the Highway 169 area south of Owasso right now.
We're going to monitor this situation very, very closely, but we believe now we've got a confirmed tornado north side, northeast some other tornado warnings that you want to get to. They keep getting issued now.
Yeah, let's have a look here. There's a tornado warning for the areas off farther to the north. That's Nowata County. Cross, and we'll track this one out very close to the town of Nowata at about 7:34. Cooties Bluff area about 7:39. This one not as tight a rotation. There's a big broad storms type of rotation or wall cloud type of rotation within there, but it's several miles wide as opposed to this mile or less type wide circulation of a tornado. Then 2 tornado warnings down in parts of southeast Arkansas, DeShay and Drew counties, heading up toward the McGehee area. That one coming toward the McGehee at about 7:46, Rower at about 8:01. This one not extremely tight circulation, but there is some blue westbound in there, so some circulation showing up with that. Also a circulation on the storm north of that, Drew and Lincoln counties, tornado warning there, going south of Star City in Arkansas, heading up toward the Garnett area, the Fresno area, Fresno at about 7:54. Then farther southwest, south and east of Magnolia, Arkansas, Columbia and Union counties with a tornado warning. Tornado likely to be that little arc right about in there, or at least that's right around where the circulation is, just near the Magnolia area right now, and then pushing up toward the Fairview area, 8:09. This storm may be weakening just a little bit. Then down into Louisiana, Bienville and Webster parishes, not too far away from the Ringgold. A tornado warning. That one is new enough that I didn't have time to do a tracking on that. Then across Arkansas from Little Rock and southwest all the way up to Jonesboro, a whole string here of green flash flood warnings with a number of reports of flooding across that. And we've lost now our severe thunderstorm warnings that had moved out of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex down toward the Ennis area. Might occasionally be some spotty winds with that. Still have a severe thunderstorm warning down in the Bosque, Coryell and McLennan County areas as this supercell thunderstorm definitely beginning to gust out, line out, and has taken a right turn. So this is with the cold front, the dry line moving across the area. Tonight, that heavy rain continues next couple of hours across central and northeast Arkansas, but individualized thunderstorms continue pushing across southern Arkansas, increasingly across northern Louisiana, pushing into western parts of Mississippi, to some extent into perhaps the Memphis area. Thunderstorms may or may not be severe by wee hours of the morning into western Tennessee, but certainly likely to be across Mississippi, and then probably beginning to weaken, except maybe southeast Mississippi as we head towards sunrise tomorrow, Mike.
All right, Dr. Forbes, we're getting some new pictures in right now from the Tulsa area. I want to show you those right now. That's a look at the north side of Tulsa. That doesn't look like anything tornadic to me. Looks like we get a pretty good thunderstorm there. That's sent in by Michael Vaughn. And next picture that we have for you, there we go. There's a look at that could indeed be the tornado. At the very least, that's a funnel cloud, but definitely looks like we've got something there.
Just left of center there, left of that, the second, as I see it, of telephone poles is what would probably be something that wide and that at least halfway to the ground would very likely be a tornado in progress with the wind circulation of the ground.
Is that generally your rule of thumb? If you've got a funnel about halfway down to the ground, it's usually a tornado?
Yes, that's a good rule. And some of it, there's something below that well-defined, the funnel portion, whether or not that's rain or debris or some combination, but because you do see some of these rain shafts here and here, but certainly looks as if there may be some debris even down to the tree line in this case.
All right, Dr. Forbes, we got another look at this on the radar here. Ryan's got it pulled up here. Rogers in Tulsa County, still under that tornado warning. We've got a very well-defined hook echo there.
Yes.
Do we have another one coming in behind it as well?
No, I doubt it. At that close, I think the rain-cooled air will probably choke it out. I think it's a wannabe, but right over the 169 symbol there is what I would call a debris ball, and that's what we've been seeing as the debris and a debris signature. There you see the debris signature on that, and so
and this
tornado
is
in progress.
Like this is moving almost due east.
Yeah, it's moving almost due east. I'm looking over here to see. It doesn't seem as if it's moving as fast as it once was. The thing that caught my attention was I thought maybe it would be past Highway 169 at this point. So
You think it's potentially slowed down?
Maybe it has slowed down a little bit. Let me, while we're talking here, yes, it had been going 45. They're saying now east at 25 miles per hour.
That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. We just have gotten a new scan in, so now it has gone east of Highway 169. You see that complete circle in the higher returns right there.
What's that tell you?
Well, that's probably precipitation that's wrapping around the tornado, with the tornado probably inside there. But my guess, Ryan, can you give us the correlation?
Your HD radar.
That's my HD radar. Well, I can do it myself then, can't I?
Yes, you can.
There is the outer debris that may be from the thunderstorm rotation, and then there's the tornado debris signature right at the core. And since I can control this now, I will put this and make it centered, so we'll take a look at the velocities, the storm relative velocities. Very well defined. Greens eastbound, reds westbound, the tornado right where they touch, and some combination of rotating wall cloud, or the mesocyclone as we would call it, extending that rotation out there. That could be, I'll put a marker on here and do a little measurement. You can watch me do it if you can see that. That distance is about 3/4 of a mile, so that may not be all tornado. That probably is rotating wall cloud with the tornado somewhat smaller in there, and the debris signature showing up is getting to be a pretty big debris field. All of that blue is probably debris, so that may be suggesting that we have a pretty big circulation as what we're seeing here, with the rain coming around and bringing downdrafts, gusts of wind down to the ground with this whole system. So while it's not as wide, this may be the kind of thing like we saw in Oklahoma with the tornado, with the wall cloud, basically the whole rotating cloud coming down to the ground, and then a tornado somewhat hiding inside of that, or becoming indistinguishable from the rotating wall cloud.
Dr. Forbes, just looking at some of the images that are now coming in on Twitter, a gentleman that you know very well, storm chaser Simon Brewer,
yes,
showing an incredibly large mesocyclone with a funnel, and it looks like debris at the bottom. Looks like this is relatively raw. I don't see a lot of, when I look at them, I'm literally looking at this on my phone right now, folks, as this is a breaking situation. I'm looking at it now. It looks like a little debris at the bottom. Hard to tell if there's really any anything that's structural. Maybe it's just brush, or just maybe even some just precipitation. But no doubt at this point we've got a big tornado.
Yes, absolutely. And for the viewpoint of the perspective of the folks, here's Owasso, the community we've been talking about. So all of this is what we would typically call the hook of the hook echo. That's just part of the broad rotation of the storm. Warm air is coming in here. Rain cooled air has wrapped around and is underneath that hook. And then in this portion right in here is a combination of the wall cloud, the rotating updraft, and probably at this point mainly tornado with some rain wrapped.
Strong. It comes from a place where raw strength is just a starting point, where doing something means doing it right, where unrivaled dependability is backed by the strongest warranty in the business, and the only job is a job well done. Welcome to Strongsville. Experience Cub Cadet Strong with the new XT Enduro Series. Find exceptional financing and a dealer near you.
And we apologize for the brief technical difficulty that gets you back to the storm coverage here. And confirmed tornado just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're here with our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, indicating debris on the radar, storm spotters at the scene, confirming a tornado, and some of the pictures that are now coming in via Twitter, we're seeing a lot of them. A large tornado is on the ground.
Yeah, and I've taken back one scan previously to show this well-defined hook echo, and that is the rain-wrapped portion, or the rear flank downdraft wrapping around the storm. The inflow coming in here, we're only seeing a portion of the thunderstorm, the portion that has the tornado located right in here. I'll show you the velocity. This is from 7:34 time, and greens going eastbound, the reds westbound. About a 3/4 mile wide circulation there that is either a combination of tornado and damaging rotating winds with a little bit of rain wrapped around the tornado perhaps at this point, and debris signature even wider than that, suggesting that the thunderstorm winds have kicked up debris across a big area. Now let me go back to the the thing that I showed as the debris ball here, and it now, the last scan has just come in. We still have that well-defined hook, but we're now getting something that's not a perfect ball anymore. Let's see, we still have right in at this location a well-defined tornado. It still is embedded in there, but we're beginning to get sort of a little bit of a backward C shape, suggesting to me that some of the rain-cooled air is trying to wrap around the east side now of the tornado. Question, could you see this tornado? Increasing chance now, if you're due to the east, more and more of the rain might have wrapped around it. If you're north and east or south, maybe still a little bit of a chance. So I think you can still see the tornado, but you may also see a lot of sort of rain that is wrapping around it as well, making it look like basically a wall cloud that's on the ground.
Does knowing that you could have a little bit cooler rain that infiltrates some of that circulation, does that help dissipate it at all?
Yeah, sometimes it does. What will sometimes happen is that rain will wrap around, choke off, and as we see here, continuing to get more of this rain pushing. The more it pushes this way, with the warm inflow trying to come in this way, if it makes a complete donut around the tornado circulation, that sometimes will choke off the tornado. But sometimes then off over here farther to the east, you'll get another tornado that will, a few minutes from now, could reform. We call that storm cycling.
So here's the situation, folks. We know we've got a confirmed tornado northeast side of Tulsa right now. You can easily define it on the Doppler velocities. You can see it on the correlation coefficient. Storm spotters out there are seeing this thing right now. We've seen numerous pictures that have been coming in via Twitter right now. Pretty decent sized cone tornado on this, Dr. Forbes. Where this is, though, and there's a look at, this was just a few minutes ago from Michael Vaughn via Twitter. And you were saying that pretty good indication. This may have been the early part of it, but this is definitely a tornado. Yeah,
that to me is a tornado with the cone and the funnel part halfway at least to the ground, and then something that looks like it's probably dust and debris being picked up even below that, almost all the way down to the ground. So I'm pretty sure that that's a tornado, and we certainly have seen spotters have seen tornadoes, as well as the debris is confirmed that there's a tornado in progress.
This storm then started to take a track that was almost due east. You know, if initial storm motion was northeast and then it went east, we call that a right turner. Is there a more implied threat with a right turning storm?
Well, typically when the storms turn right like that, they do so because they're rotating faster. Normally, the storms, if they aren't rotating very strongly, they just are drifting along by the average winds in the atmosphere that push the storm. But when the storm starts to rotate, it then starts to behave sort of like a curveball. It deflects away from that average wind, and in this case, most of the time in the atmosphere, counterclockwise rotation means it takes a right turn. So that's what has happened with this storm. It looks as if now that it may have actually when newest radar comes in, some of that rain may have wrapped all the way around the tornado now. So the next 5 or 10 minutes will be interesting to see. Sometimes in that initial stage of the rain wrapping around, the tornado intensifies, and then thereafter it sort of begins to dissipate. We'll hope the latter is what happens pretty soon.
Dr. Forbes, I want to give you a couple seconds to get your radars reset. I know you have a lot of things you want to show. In the meantime, I want to show you some of the pictures that we're getting in and some of the radar. Ryan's got another radar ready to go for us right now. So here's a look what's happening for us right now. And look at the extent here from, say, Owasso over toward Claremore, okay? We're talking heavy rain and hail in that area. And again, this is all drifting away from Tulsa at the moment, coming across Highway 169. This is north of Catoosa. Now there's the hail core, okay? And so that's another threat you're going to have with this, not just the tornado. Some of you could be maybe out there looking for the hail. Hail could be as big as maybe 2 inches in diameter. This is a really potent supercell thunderstorm. And so tornado warning that continues for us here. What's the expiration on our tornado warning, Ryan?
Stand by.
Looks like 8:15.
So that now includes Rogers County. If you live in Claremore or Justice, please take shelter right away. Lowest level of your home. If you have an underground shelter, it's the best place for you to be right now. The best place for you to be in your home is the basement, Cover your head, get in a sturdy piece of furniture. If you don't have a basement, you and the family just cram into a bathroom, a closet, interior room, any place you can go right now to protect yourself from this tornado that's slowed down in forward speed. It's going now about 20 miles per hour. Nonetheless, it is on a collision course with an area between Fair Oaks and Claremore here. You can see a well-defined, we're going to track this for you here, a well-defined hook echo there. Limestone 751, so you've got a matter of just minutes to get to shelter here in Limestone. In Claremore, about 8:05, so you've got maybe roughly 10 to 15 minutes to find some shelter and get into a safe location. And in Harmony Star, about 8:17. So Dr. Forbes, I'm not sure if you're ready to go again here or not, but this is the most impressive at least radar signature we've seen all day today. National Weather Service confirming a tornado, storm spotters confirming a tornado, and we look at it here in 3 dimensions. Really tall thunderstorm going up about 50,000 feet, and you can see that we've got a large hail core in there, what you called a vault.
Yeah, a vault is the weak echo region. It's surrounded by precipitation on either side, and the precipitation falls in the areas where the updraft is not strong, so it's able to fall to the ground. In the vault, where you have a low precipitation return, it's because the air is rising so fast that all of the precipitation that's forming is being suspended aloft. So it forms an arch there with precipitation falling on the south side and then on the north side of that. So as Ryan is drawing there, the updraft and the vault are coming up there where the arrows are going from bottom to the top, and then you have 2 areas where he's got the arrows coming downward where the rain is falling and the hail is falling.
When you see this type of signature on this 3-dimensional radar, this really indicates to you very strong rotating updrafts.
Yeah, that's a supercell. That's a supercell structure, and when the vault is that intense, that well defined, it's one that has very strong updraft with it. It looked as if it was suspending probably golf ball size hail 20,000 feet up in the air there. So
that is impressive.
That is an intense thunderstorm.
I know you've got your radar ready to go, and you want to run through some of these warnings.
Well, I did, but something else is on there.
If you need some time, let us know.
Something else is on there. Well, I don't know what I'm seeing. There we are.
Rogers County, this is just outside of Tulsa, has that tornado warning.
For perspective, there is our tornado warning up in the Tulsa area. We have tornado warnings also in southeast, south central Arkansas, and northern Louisiana. I definitely have not had time to re-queue all of these, but I did have time to redo the storm that was near the Tulsa area. It's definitely east of Owasso now, north of Catoosa. You could see a well-defined hook echo there. That vault that we would have been showing you would be the 3-dimensional structure with the weak echo area in here in between. So the updraft comes up, comes in there and then goes up in between those 2 areas of precipitation. The tornado occurs at the arch right about there. So while I'm sort of drawing here wider than that, it's coming right down the center line toward Harmony Star area and then toward the Pryor area with the tornado threat. Now here is the velocity signature, greens eastbound, the reds going westbound. So it's not quite as intense as it had been. It's going to go into the area a couple of miles north of Verdigris, just probably staying just north of Highway 266, but then coming to the intersection, or just north of the intersection of 266 and 66. It still has very well-defined debris signature with that, much bigger, I think, than the tornado. So it probably, as that debris is being picked up, it's being tossed out in front of the tornado, to the north of the tornado, even to the south, and some are left behind to the south of the tornado. A brand new tornado warning now farther to the northeast in parts of Craig and Newata counties, off to the north and east of the town of Newata. And again, you see this well-defined hook echo showing up there. Since this tornado has just come into existence, I'll see if I can put on the swath while we watch here and push that across there, take the warnings off so you can see the location, and that is coming toward, get that out so we can see it, the Childers area, the Centralia area, the Cocklebur Flat area of northeast parts of Oklahoma. Then down into the Arkansas area, and some of these I may not have had time to update. Lincoln County, you can see not as well defined, but certainly sort of a circulation showing up now in the farthest northeast part of this. So the circulation would be getting toward the Fresno area now. It is past some of these areas. I haven't had time to update the swaths. Farther south and east of Magnolia, I think probably this storm has almost moved out. It's up around the Stevens Fairview area now of that warning, and still tornado warning in Louisiana, Bienville and Webster parishes, and that one would be now into the areas east of Ringgold, and then a lot of flooding anywhere from Jonesboro down into the Little Rock area, east of Little Rock, getting its way toward the Pine Bluff area. So dangerous storms are in progress in many locations. The storms have moved out of the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. I don't think they'll be moving back in with any additional storms later tonight, and even the storm that was heading down toward Waco has weakened considerably. So the main threat now seems to be it's going to be Louisiana and Arkansas, and then areas to the east of that, with maybe some slight threat of something still coming across Missouri behind that. Head toward midnight time frame, we'll have these heavy rainers moving into the Boot Heel of Missouri, eastern Arkansas, maybe some severe with or ahead of that into western Tennessee, northwest parts of Mississippi. But southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana getting more active, or at least continuing to be active, with the storms moving out of Louisiana and Arkansas into Mississippi as we go to the wee hours of the mornings. And these areas, southern Arkansas, central Mississippi, northern Louisiana, are still areas that I've given Torcon values of 5 through the overnight hours. Mike?
Dr. Forbes, I'm just going to do something here random. I'm going to hand my camera to you here and take a look at that. This is a live stream that's coming out of the Tulsa area. It looks like we could have a tornado in there with still seeing debris.
Yeah, I think there is. There's definitely some big tilted rain shafts that are coming out in behind that, but it looks like in front of that there probably is still a tornado. I think as we've been talking about, some of the rear flank downdraft has wrapped around and is still having a tornado inside of where the rain is wrapping around it.
All right, so when you look at this, the good news here in all this is that it may be weakening some. The signature on radar doesn't look nearly as impressive as it once did. The hail core is enormous. We could be looking at some very large hail here. Right near Verdigris here, maybe just north of Verdigris, and this could be coming very close now to I-44 or shortly crossing I-44. This will be just south of Claremore and just north and east of Catoosa. Look at the hail size here. They're estimated to be about 2 inches in diameter. Sometimes it's a little bit overestimated on the radar. Nonetheless, it's certainly going to meet thunderstorm warning criteria. So you've got to be inside with this. And if you're within that tornado warning, which is Rogers County, you have to take shelter right now. We're watching this on our live streams that we're watching right now on Twitter. Dr. Forbes has seen it on the radar. Storm trackers out there confirming that we do indeed have a tornado. There's the latest scan. It may be a little muddled here, but 8:15 is the expiration on this tornado warning. We don't have the debris ball signature that we once had on this, so there could be some weakening. Do we think maybe, Dr. Forbes, that some of that rain-cooled air got in there and started to choke it off a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely think so. But that said, sometimes you can get a cycling. So the fact that all of that heavy rain seems to have gone away, and we have still that inflow area out to the east, it is reformed sort of a north-south appendage. We could get somewhere in the area south and east of Claremore a reformation of a tornado.
All right, we actually have some live pictures right now out of the Tulsa area. It's a live feed from one of our affiliates, okay? And what you're taking a look at here is the radar that's showing on the right, and on the left, they're showing live pictures. Don't notice anything discernible here, Dr. Forbes, that looks tornadic. It looks like maybe tail end of the thunderstorm here.
Yeah, it definitely has weakened considerably. There is right in the center of the picture there still an area that has the green and reds relatively close, but compared to what we had seen, the Doppler velocity signature has weakened considerably, and it looks like one where some of the rain-cooled air, the rear flank downdraft, has pushed out and for the moment weakened the tornado threat.
KJRH television right now out of Tulsa. They're talking to a storm chaser right now. Let's take a brief listen in.
You're correct. I'm due north, looking due north.
Okay, and so you're just to the west of 66, so you're right in this vicinity here. Can you tell us if there are any
subdivisions, homes out in that area? Is this open country out here?
No, sir. This is definitely a populated area. We are actually in a neighborhood right now. I'm going to reposition and get over on 66 and try to get ahead of it again. But this is definitely a very populated area near Claremore.
Okay,
so
please,
people need to be taking their tornado precautions at this time if they haven't already. Definitely do not do what so many people are doing and go out and look. You wouldn't believe all the traffic out here, just spectators trying to see.
Yeah, well, and that's a problem that we face is a lot of folks, they want that visual confirmation, and so we don't really need that. That can be very dangerous. And so the best thing to do is to take our word for it and then call someone that that lives in that area and give them the warning, and then watch us and watch our streams. Going out and looking at these things can be deadly, and it's just not a good idea. Here's Claremore, there's Verdigris, and so that circulation right now just to the north and west of Interstate 44.
And again, you have been watching and looking at our affiliate KJRH in Tulsa. They've been talking to a storm chaser there, Dr. Forbes, and what he said was concerning, that this is a populated area. They've got neighborhoods here and a lot of homes.
Yeah, indeed, and some suggestion that it was trying to reform a hook, and so definitely, if the tornado has lifted, there's a possibility that another one could form just a little bit farther to the east and east-southeast.
You were talking about how a tornado could cycle.
Yes.
Can you ever tell if a tornado is actually going to do that before it does it? It's hard to do, yes?
It's hard to be absolutely sure, but given this kind of a scenario of a very well-defined supercell thunderstorm with such warm, unstable air, I would be surprised if this one did not cycle again.
The last couple of scans that you've seen here on radar, we saw a little bit of weakening. Is there anything in there to indicate to you that the rotation or the vortex itself has gone away?
Well, I'm not 100% sure that it's gone away. What I see most strongly in here is that it appears that this rain-cooled air may have gotten pretty far out away from the original hook. So that suggests that if we're going to get a reformation, well, that if there is a tornado back in here, it probably will weaken. If we're going to get a reformation, it would probably be taking place south and east of Claremore.
Getting some indications now that there's still rotation on the ground with this storm, Dr. Forbes, but you look at the velocities here. What do you see? Yeah,
there's the velocities. I don't know if we're seeing my radar. Yeah, we're seeing my radar on air. So there is some rotation that's showing up right in there, but it's certainly not as strong as it had been. A little bit of another rotation area right along Highway 66 there. So a big broad area of this rear flank downdraft, a big broad area of this warm prevailing flow. And
Dr. Forbes, we're getting new pictures in now. Okay. Pictures of the actual tornado, if we can show that. There we go. There's a different view. This is via Twitter from Chris Walters. Well-defined cone here.
Yeah, absolutely. Cone type tornado. With probably, depending on, there it is. It's in, so the funnel part, and that's the cloud portion, comes down about 2/3 of the way to the ground. There's some suggestion in here that there's some dust and debris being picked up, and that would be characteristic. The wind circulation, the cone, the funnel represents the low pressure. The wind typically is out on the edge of that, so I think there's a tornado in progress there, kicking up dust about this wide.
And one thing you were saying when you were looking at what's known as the correlation coefficient on Doppler is that you can actually get the debris that is basically centrifuged out of the vortex itself that's wider than the actual tornado is.
Yeah, sometimes with this strong updraft that we've been talking about, sometimes it can get picked up in the updraft and then spun around in that rotating part of the thunderstorm and dropped even a mile out ahead of the tornado, even on the northeast side, or sometimes even farther than that. We've had sometimes pieces of paper and so on that can, in the strongest of tornadoes, can get tossed and fall to the ground 100 miles away from where they were picked up. So sometimes debris, even 2x4s, can fall out of the sky a couple of miles away.
Again, breaking situation right now, northeast side of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we have a confirmed tornado right now. Rotation indicated by Doppler radar, storm spotters out there confirming we have this tornado in the pictures here. Obviously evidence of that. This getting very close to Highway 44, Dr. Forbes. So coming over the interstate, potentially very soon, a dangerous place to be. is on an interstate, unaware of what could be coming your way.
Yeah, it is getting now and reforming a hook echo, getting close to the I-44 in the Claremore area. So we are seeing, if you're seeing, yeah, you're seeing my my hook there. It looks like it's trying to hook again. It had flattened out a little bit, so dangerous, maybe cycling as we've been predicting could be happening. Let me see what the velocities look like. Oh yes, there the velocities have tightened up again just a little bit. There's a green and the red once again tightening up. So I think we are getting a cycling that's taking place almost on the I-44 area now, just to the south of Claremore, Oklahoma.
That's a scary situation, knowing there could be a lot of people that are unaware of what is coming in from the west. We have new pictures, by the way, of another angle of this tornado. There's a look at it right there. It's coming in behind the house there. This from Maddie Noel 7 on Twitter. And I mean, look at the big storm itself. You look at the entire structure there, Dr. Forbes. We got a big road.
This is about as classic as that as you get. And then here is the tornado coming down. There's some trees and a building blocking us here, but the tornado is coming down to the ground there. Classic rain over in here, higher cloud base, and the tornado at the interface where the wall cloud forms, the rotating thunderstorm updraft spinning its way up across here with rain falling over here and rain wrapping around over in this area.
All right, we've got a live feed for you right now we want to show you. This is near Verdigris. This is coming in behind the tornado, Dr. Forbes. You see some lightning in there. This went very near Verdigris, or maybe right over Verdigris. The storm chaser that is on this right now would then end up now being in behind the circulation and following in from either the west or the southwest side.
I think so, and I think that little line or arc that you're seeing there is probably the gust front that's along the leading edge of the rear flying downdraft or something like that, that comes in from the center left and then spirals its way over toward just slightly to the right of center in the picture. So pretty strong suggestion in there that we have some rotation and probably a gust front on that rear flying downdraft.
Again, breaking weather situation right now. Northeast side of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tornado warning for Rogers County. Confirmed tornado that we have had with this. It's come near Catoosa, near Verdigris, near Claremore, basically going over Interstate 44 at this moment.
Yeah, that certainly appears to be the case. The circulation is tightened up just to the south of Claremore. It's right over I-44 at this point. And let me see, do we have a debris signature? The debris signature had broadened out. I'm looking here. Yeah, it looks like there's a tight little debris signature right now again in between the Highway 66 and the I-44 area just south of Claremore.
I want to take if we can take max 45 momentarily here. The picture that you're seeing, the live streaming camera, and where the location of that person is right where it's circled there in white, right along Interstate 44. So basically, Dr. Forbes, due south of where the circulation is, and the circulation moving, I would assume, almost, east, and their location, if they're moving toward it, is going to be to the northeast. So they could be on a collision course here, but hopefully stopped. The last thing you want to do is be moving toward it at this point, but you can see some lightning. Anytime you see some lightning in there, you might be able to get a chance to see the funnel itself.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. And here it's going to depend on what angle you're looking at the storm from, whether or not you're going to be able to see it. From north of Claremore, probably not.
All right, again, following this very breaking situation for you right now, just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Confirmed tornado with debris on it. We'll track this for you. Coming up next, Carl Parker, Keith Carson taking over. They're going to get you through this situation tonight.
All right, welcome back. We're continuing coverage here for a tornado that has moved through the Tulsa area on the north side. It's now to the north and east of the city. It may have cycled back into another tornado right now, but this is an earlier picture you're seeing very clearly a wedge type tornado that was on the ground there. And we saw several vantages of this, including live video of it coming on through. So that was to the northeast of Tulsa. Here's another look at it. Just a classic storm system there with the mesocyclone, the wall cloud in there, and also the tornado touching down almost in the center there of your screen. And this is the same storm system. This particular supercell has put a tornado down looks like it stopped for a bit and then came back, and it is still moving through at this hour. So we're watching this particular storm system with a lot of interest here, and of course also the other storms that are rolling, some of them across parts of Arkansas. So stay with us. We're going to be with you until midnight Central Time, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. But let's get right to it here as far as what's going on with this storm system to the north and east of Tulsa. For that, let's go to Carl Parker. Carl?
Boy, it's amazing how you get so many pictures right away of those storms. Hopefully things are a little bit better right now. And first of all, I want to show you the larger picture, give you the lay of the land across the Mid-South and back and into the plains. So we've got a tornado warning now in northern parts of Louisiana and a couple of them in northeastern parts of Oklahoma. Those are the only tornado warnings right now. Large area flash flood warnings as well. That's going to be a big problem going through the night tonight. So we'll take you up here into Tulsa and look at what's going on with the storm right now. So there you see the hook echo that is still very much showing up there. That little curly Q indicating where we've got rotation in the storm. That's Rogers County under warning, but that has also been extended to the east. So Mays and Rogers counties now under warning right now. And the cell's moving east at about 25 miles per hour. Now we'll take a closer look at what's going on here. Some rain-cooled air actually ran out ahead of this thing, so that may be making it harder for the tornado to actually reach the ground at this point, even though there's still very much a circulation within that storm. We'll look at the velocity data. That's the latest scan right there. Interesting because we're seeing a little pixel right in there, so maybe a circulation right in there, but looking for any evidence of debris right now. There does still appear to be a little bit of evidence of debris right in that area where that circulation is. So you see where that shows up in a couple of different versions of velocity, and still seeing some evidence there of some debris. So I think we've still got potentially a tornado, even though the system may be cycling right now because of that cool air that has rushed out ahead of that. You notice that it is in a relatively rural area. It's now just about on top of Justice, Route 20 there, and south of 44. And then beyond that, looks like there are not a whole lot of towns in the path of this storm. We'll go ahead and put a tracker on here, and we'll see if there's anybody that might be in the path of the storm. Maybe Harmony Star coming up there at about 8:23, so you want to get to your safe place as that storm continues east. Not quite as well defined as it was just moments ago, so hopefully things are getting a little bit better here. Now, to the north of that, also looking at another warning in Craig and Nowata counties, and we'll zoom in and take a look at what's happening with the velocities. There's a brand new warning just popped on that is for Craig County for this storm, and we'll take a look at the velocity data. And here you've got a pretty good signature right in there. We'll take a look at another version of this. So right in here is where we're seeing the signature of rotation. And again, I'll take a look at what's going on with the debris. I'm not seeing any evidence of debris right now, but there is definitely a circulation there. Not seeing a whole lot of towns either. And again, I'll track this out and see if we can see any towns in the path of this storm. Maybe Centralia coming in here pretty quickly, about 23 minutes after the hour. So you want to get to your safe place immediately. And we'll have more on this coming up in a few minutes. Keith?
All right, thank you, Carl. Yeah, we'll keep with this threat, and we'll be right back after the break. All right, welcome back. You're taking a look at a video here of a tornado that was north of Tulsa not long ago, and a confirmed tornado from many different angles. And it was actually just to the north there of the airport and moved on through. It cycled, put down another tornado. We're still watching that same supercell for the possibility of rotation ongoing there. Luckily, the population is decreasing now as the storm system moves off to the east and northeast. But that one particular supercell has been the strongest of the evening, not to say it's the only game in town. Let's go to Carl Parker now. And Carl, that storm, as I mentioned, now in a little bit less populated area, but there's other concerns as the night goes on.
Oh, yeah. And one of the big concerns is going to be very heavy flooding rains across parts of Arkansas and getting into the lower Mississippi Valley. We're seeing that already right now. You notice there's a whole string of flash flood warnings in effect here across parts of Arkansas, and we expect that there will be more of those, a great big complex of storms here that's going to continue to slowly move across the Mississippi Valley and into Mississippi overnight tonight. So that is certainly going to be one of the top worries. But we've got this tornado threat as well, and we've got these storms that are still coming into a very rich environment in terms of warmth and humidity. So there's the ongoing warning for Mays and Rogers County. It's in a more rural area now, but just heads up there in Pryor as well as Hoot Owl and Salina as the storm is generally coming your way, maybe moving just a little to the north of east right now. We'll zoom down and you can very clearly see the hook structure right in there. So this is where you've got warm and humid air coming in right there. There's the inflow, and then you've got cooler air wrapping around the back side of the storm right through there. And right along that interface, that's where the tornado likes to develop, likes to sit right in that little notch right there. We can take a look at what's going on with the velocity data, and right now we're seeing some rotation, certainly right in here in particular. That's an area I'd be concerned about. I'll look for some evidence of debris right there. It looks like maybe there is still some evidence of debris there as well, looking at a couple of different versions of the velocity, but it's not as well defined as it was a little while back. In fact, we can actually go back in time and show you what was going on with that circulation. You can see as little as a half an hour ago, it was actually a lot more well-defined right in there, very well-defined circulation, and then even going farther back here, you can see a really tight little circulation. What we call a tornado vortex signature was showing up there. Look at that, just south of Owasso. I think that was right around the time when we were getting so many pictures and so much video of the storm. So right there, that tight little couplet is indicative of a tornado. And in fact, when we look at the debris signature, you can really clearly see that there was one of those as well. So, oh, sorry, it actually jumped forward there when I was switched over. So there certainly was a debris signature at that time. In fact, what I can do is I can go back in time here and show you where that was. Right there, and we'll go to the CC and we'll go back in time, and you can see how it was sitting right there. Look at that, just a really profound debris signature. So again, it's not as well defined now, so hopefully things are getting better. Craig County also under warning. We'll take a look at what's happening with that storm. And on the radial velocity, you've got a broad circulation, not a tight one, a broader one there. So things are looking better in that area as well. Now, I want to talk quickly about what's happening in our model forecast. And so as we go through tonight, we are likely going to see all of this congeal into a big complex of storms. So that's what I'm talking about, that heavy rain threat, a flooding threat in western parts of Tennessee and also in Mississippi. We will also see at this time very strong low-level winds, and so there could yet be some circulations developing overnight tonight. Tornado threat is certainly not going to be over, Keith, overnight tonight.
Yeah, and then we're going to have to watch tomorrow as well, Carl, because we'll have to see what storms pop up, whether or not those storms continue into the morning hours could dampen things. But right now, our Torcon numbers for tomorrow, 5s across the board from Indy to Birmingham into Jackson, Mississippi, and you can see the timing there, quite different depending on your location. Some of that coming in here through the early morning hours, others waiting until tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Take a look at this picture here on the Tulsa area, and this is a look at the supercell, presumably that produced a tornado more than once. That is a really good-looking shot of it there. And we had several, with just so many images coming in from the Tulsa area, obviously heavily populated. And here's a look, the next one of the actual tornado. This is north of Tulsa, and you can see it if you look obviously right behind that house there. That is where it is in the center of your screen, and just a textbook-looking tornado. And there was a debris signature for quite a while as this storm moved through. And the supercell itself actually still intact. Here's another shot of it, and this is across a parking lot there. Very similar look actually of that storm, where you can see the wedge coming down. And what we had with this particular tornado is that it was very wide at the top, and then it went into a little bit of a shallower vortex and spun up debris from there. But that doesn't speak to its strength in any way at all right now. But there's another look at it behind a house there, less of a horizon, but same tornado, no doubt, from that same supercell that is moving through. And it's not the only game in town. Still other storms that will be continuing to fire up through the night. So we will continue to stay with you through the night here. We're here until midnight Central Time, 1 a.m. Eastern. I'm Keith Carson. I'll be with you for the next couple of hours. The main threats here: strong winds, hail, flash flooding, and of course those tornadoes. We have specialist Carl Parker and Sarah Dillingham also in the house here tonight, and they'll be walking you through this storm threat here. Now, Carl, let's start with the watches, because we still have quite a few of them out out there, and within them is where we're seeing our tornadoes right now. Tornado watch until 10 o'clock Central there on the left, and also another tornado watch there on the right-hand side of your screen. Behind that, we do still have some severe thunderstorm watches, but for the most part, we are going to be down across central Texas as far as that significant weather goes. So our TORCON number is still high tonight, Carl, and obviously it's bore itself out, particularly in the Tulsa area. A couple of really nasty supercells. Still a lot of instability out ahead of all of this.
Yeah, there is a lot of instability, especially in parts of Mississippi and Louisiana right now. We expect that there's going to be a lot more activity going through the night tonight, through late tonight. Certainly very heavy rain is a big part of the threat tonight as well, and we've already got a bunch of flash flood warnings in effect in eastern parts of Arkansas. So let's get through the warnings very quickly here and show you what's going on. There is now only one tornado warning in effect. This is the storm that we were looking at earlier, and you notice how the whole thing is becoming a little bit more strewn, kind of elongated. It's not nearly as well formed as it once was. Nonetheless, a tornado warning for Mays and Rogers counties. That's going until 9 p.m. Seeing a little surge forward there in the hook. So that is what we call the RFD right there. So this is where the inflow is coming into the storm, and then behind that you've got cooler air that's wrapping around, and we actually have a little bit of a semicircle there where that cool air is coming in. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to that, and we'll take a look at what's going on with the velocity data with the storm. And boy, that is really ambiguous at this time, and just not seeing anywhere near the circulation that we were looking at earlier in some of this data, nor are we seeing much in the way of a correlation coefficient, a low correlation coefficient indicating debris. So it does appear that things are getting a little bit better here. Nonetheless, that can all change very quickly. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on that. And here's a storm that had been warned for tornado, no longer now being warned for tornado, but in the wake of that, there is another warning. That's Nowata County, looking out for some hail and also damaging wind in this case. And in fact, I'll go ahead and take a look at the hail tracker there, and that is likely going to be coming up just south of Coffeyville. That's where we saw one of the largest hailstones on record many years ago, back in the 70s, a good 7 inches wide. That's coming up towards Route 166 there, possibly some golf ball size hail or larger. Then expanding out, you notice that there is a severe warning in northern parts of Louisiana. That's Claiborne, Lincoln, Union counties under warning there. And then to the north and east of that, we've got this huge, massive rain, great big area of flash flood warnings in effect. And that is going to be an ongoing problem through the night tonight. Watch the model forecast. Notice how this all congeals into a great big complex. And by the way, at this time, we will be seeing really strong low-level winds driving up to the northeast. So there certainly could be embedded tornadoes within that big complex of storms. So it's not only going to be a flash flood threat, there will be a tornado threat that continues even into the overnight hours. And then tomorrow afternoon, we expect that the instability here very high. And you notice the model is showing us some individual cells there in northern and western parts of Mississippi, also into Alabama. I'd be very concerned about the possibility of supercells. Tomorrow we've got a TORCON of 5, so that has been raised by our Dr. Greg Forbes for tomorrow afternoon. Could be a very busy afternoon. Storms then rolling across into Atlanta and also into Tennessee. And let's get more on that forecast now from Keith. Keith?
All right, thank you, Carl. Yeah, certainly we're not ending this with tonight. In fact, storms continue during the overnight hours, as Carl mentioned. Let's take a look at the setup tomorrow, because in a lot of ways, we're just moving the whole thing east, right? We still have the jet stream involved. That is a big component in our low-level shear here, and that continues into the morning hours and through the day tomorrow. So we tap into the instability we have ongoing across the southeast. A lot of moisture there, dew points high enough to produce severe weather, and the cold front, of course, the catalyst to get all of these going and out ahead of it particularly. So through tomorrow, here's your risk area. It's pretty large. Now, it is worth noting that we are going to see severe weather possibility all the way up into Chicago. That being said, we feel like the best dynamics for this right now are going to be a little bit farther to the south as far as the possibility for tornadoes, and that has to do with where the jet stream is going to be positioned here, troughing across parts of the Gulf Coast states, whereas that low-level wind shear is not in place across the Midwest. But it's still a spot we're going to have to watch for damaging wind gusts, straight-line winds, and the possibility of some hail. Now tomorrow night, another chance of strong to severe storms during the overnight hours. These are not likely to fizzle, much like tonight, when the sun sets. They're not only driven by the instability. So an area from Birmingham to Nashville down into Atlanta, Pensacola, and New Orleans will be involved in this as well. And of course, as the night progresses, you're basically moving this whole threat off to the east. So early in the night, you'll be looking at New Orleans, and then later on in the night out towards Atlanta, we'll see the storms go through. Certainly conceivable, a lot of these spots as well could have several rounds of thunderstorms. You have the line that's going to make it through the overnight hours, storms pop out ahead of it, and the actual boundary comes through. So places like Birmingham, for example, certainly could see 2 rounds. Atlanta could see 2 rounds of thunderstorms. So that will play a factor as well. So here are your torque on numbers. Carl mentioning that they've been raised to 5, initially at 4, and some of your time periods here pretty big, and that's because of the possibility of 2 rounds. So we like to give you a smaller window if possible, but in this particular case where you could have 2 rounds of thunderstorms anywhere from noon to 7 o'clock in Indy, Birmingham looking at 3 to midnight, and then 3 to 11 in Jackson, Mississippi, and even later than that across parts of Georgia. So a look at our small-scale computer model here, which does its best, the best it can here with thunderstorm activity, of course, knowing that it's very small-scale and convective in nature. So through the morning hours, you get showers and thunderstorms. Here's a little line that's coming through parts of Georgia in the afternoon, and then another line right behind it coming through that could have a better chance of some tornadoes with it through the night. All right, Carl, we're going to show you some pictures here that we got of this tornado near Tulsa and some really strong images coming out of this event.
Just amazing. You know, there were so many pictures, and we were watching some of the local coverage in Tulsa there, and they were saying, the guy that was a tracker out there, he was a spotter, he was saying there was a tremendous amount of traffic on the roads. There were a lot of people that were out and looking at this thing, you know, which I get to a certain extent because, you know, I'm into it too, and I'd like to see something like that myself. But you want to make sure that you know what you're doing if you're going to be out there and trying to chase a tornado. I mean, I'm sure something that not many people know how to do really well, and you've got to really be able to follow the radar and be careful in that case.
You're allowed to be out there because you're a meteorologist, but this is a growing problem, right? I mean, we've seen this with people who are chasing or people who are just spectators. I'd rather have chasers at least who have some background in it. But look at these images. Nonetheless, as much as there might have been too many people out, this looks like it's from someone's house, someone's driveway that's shooting this.
Yeah, it really does. And you can see that sort of classic cone tornado. It was probably that the tornado was more of a cylinder in shape, but the condensation funnel had that cone appearance, and we saw some debris, a larger debris cloud at the base there, and it was actually pretty wide for a while. We saw a large area of debris associated with that tornado.
All right, we'll be right back with more on the tornado threat through the night. All right, welcome back. Take a look at some video here from Owasso, which is to the north of Tulsa. It's a suburb of Tulsa. And it's hard to make out the tornado in this particular video, but certainly there was a tornado that went through in a kind of a cone-shaped tornado observed from many angles there with that supercell, which, by the way, is still around. That is the good news. Let's take a look at the funnel cloud near Tulsa as well. We have some other pictures here, a video here. This is from the highway, obviously pulled over, and you can see the rain shaft there lowering in the cloud. Yeah, the wall cloud, and in the middle of that is where we had the tornado come through. It was basically dead center of the wall cloud as it rotated through. So that was a particularly nasty supercell. We had another one to the north of that didn't seem to produce a tornado, but at this point we do know that there were some injuries apparently with this tornado in the Tulsa area, so we'll stay on top of that and let you know what we find out as far as that goes. 9 people transported to the hospital is the latest we have heard. All right, let's bring in Sarah Dillingham here and let's do some storm tracking. There's a big picture here, Sarah. A lot of lightning, a lot of thunderstorms out there, a couple of really gnarly supercells within that. Yeah, Keith, with it still being, you know, we're getting to 9, 10 o'clock here on the East Coast, and Eastern Central Time we're in 8. So, you know, we've got a lot of instabilities left within the environment for these storms to kind of tap into, and we're certainly seeing that here in portions of the plains. And it's really been a big rain event here for Little Rock, so we've kind of got all the threats. Yeah, that's interesting because I was just thinking that we need to address that a little bit because flooding is an issue, and basically where you're seeing those flash flood warnings is the area in which the flash flood guidance, so the amount of rain necessary to flood, is a little bit lower, because some areas along the Gulf Coast here are going to need in excess of 3 inches in 3 hours, and up towards Little Rock it's more like 2, and that's made a big difference as to why they've issued these warnings here.
Yeah, you know, and they've gotten a lot of, I mean, look at all the green boxes here. Every one of those is a flash flood warning, because we've even had places closed earlier today. I believe schools in Little Rock were closed in some areas because of the flooding this afternoon. And if we take a look at the accumulations that they've seen in the last 6 to 12 hours, I mean, you're talking upwards of 4 to 5 inches in some locations.
Yeah, and so you're training these thunderstorms over. One of the ingredients that got this whole thing going is moisture, obviously with the instability, and that's just coming down in areas that are seeing more than one line come through. So out towards Jonesboro, Little Rock right in the middle of this, and certainly as it moves its way eastward, we'll have to look into parts of Tennessee because they're in a similar flash flood guidance zone. So here's some of your storm reports that we've gotten thus far today.
Yeah, you can see here in Searcy they had significant flooding reported in these areas, and we're closing some roads, and some of these creeks are still elevated from the heavy rain that they received a couple of weeks ago. Certainly that is the case there in portions of northern Louisiana. So yeah, like you said, we're going to have to watch how this evolves overnight. And the thing is that this low-level jet that we talk about oftentimes, that's what's intensifying as we go into the overnight hours and actually increasing our tornado threat, but it's also been supplying a lot of moisture out ahead of this system into these areas, which is why we've had so much rainfall
to tap into. You know, we showed you Jonesboro there. Let's take a look at a picture we have out of Jonesboro of some of the flooding. So, you know, the maps we put to, and this is what it actually looks like as far as the flooding there, and you can see a car or two stuck in that. So that's a threat we're going to have to continue to watch through the night. And as far as the severe thunderstorms out there, Sarah, you know, that one supercell that put down the tornado in Tulsa luckily has weakened. It's also moved into a less populated area.
Yeah, so that's always good news. And we've looked at, I was looking at it just a moment ago here on radar. So we're now northeast of Tulsa. This has just crossed Interstate 44 there. So you see just on Highway 69, but if we pause this, you really see the hook is kind of strung out here. You see this very long line here going on from Adair, Oklahoma. So it's really not looking as tight of a circulation as it was earlier, and that's the good news. And when we look at the velocity, which gives us a picture of what the winds look like, we're not really seeing anything indicative of a tornadic signature with this storm.
At this point, they may be largely warning it based on history. You know, Dr. Forbes talking about how storms can cycle a lot, and this was a nasty supercell previously, so they're warning it based on its potential to do that again, and not so much the signature that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and it's forecast to expire here at the top of the hour, so we're expecting to see that probably, unless it gets its act back together, we're probably not going to see a tornado warning issued again with that, potentially just a severe thunderstorm warning. And this one had some rotation earlier too. It was tornadic potentially, but now it's just severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, actually that one looked good for a scan or two, a really tight, smaller couplet, but luckily that has dissolved as well. But as we mentioned, we'll have to continue to watch this threat through the night. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back. You're taking a look at a little minor damage here north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the north side of the city. Of course, still getting some reports of what exactly the damage was from a confirmed tornado from very many angles that we had just about an hour ago at this point. That's a supercell that is still moving on through. So there's a look at it. We did have a report of 9 people being taken to the hospital. Here's a wide look right now at your warnings that are remaining. You'll notice a lot of green ones. Those are flash flood warnings, and that's a story that we can't sleep on here through tonight, because obviously we've had tornadoes and we still have tornado warnings left, but we've had some big time flooding. And Jonesboro, a spot that actually just got upgraded to a flash flood emergency, which is the highest level of alert for flooding that is ongoing. And we had pictures out of there earlier that indeed it is already flooding, and of course still raining. If you look to the west and southwest, there is a lot more moisture where that came from, and that's the bad news.
And I'm also seeing here in the National Weather Service chat, they've had major flooding reported, obviously, in the Jonesboro area. Several roads with 2 feet of water. Police are closing some streets, and there are ongoing water rescues. So that kind of, that's why they issued, or they upgraded this flash flood warning to a flash flood emergency.
Which is actually not something you see a ton of, by the way, the flash flood emergency. So it depends on the city. Some of them seem more than others.
It's like the tornado emergencies are only issued in the most rare of events where there's significant damage to life and property possible in those areas. So Jonesboro, obviously, they felt that flood threat had reached that criteria.
They want you to take that very seriously. So that's part of what we're watching here. Of course, still watching the tornado threat. Let's go to Carl now. And Carl, not the strongest supercells at the moment, but nothing has really changed in our atmosphere that will limit it.
No, you still got a lot of instability out ahead of these storms that are now in eastern parts of Oklahoma, especially down into Louisiana and into Mississippi overnight. We've got plenty of instability, so storms may flare up through those areas overnight, even as we watch this big complex making its way into Mississippi. So here is the broader picture. Not a lot of severe warnings right now. There is one that is east of Shreveport, and then you've got a couple of severe warnings and a tornado warning in northeastern parts of Oklahoma. So this is the storm that came through Tulsa earlier. We're still seeing the hook echo right there, indicating that there's still definitely a mid-level rotation within that storm. That's Mays County under warning, and we'll tighten up a little bit and take a look at what's going on here. So it's going to be right at the intersection of this, what we call the RFD right in there, and the inflow, which is coming in right in here. That's where we like to look for possible circulation. So we'll see what's going on with the velocity data. And right now there is, a shear line here, but really not a real strong circulation, not anything like what we saw earlier. So things are looking a little bit better. Nonetheless, this is still a dangerous storm, still entirely capable of producing a large hail and damaging wind. Oftentimes you do get large hail with supercell storms, as they can really keep that hail suspended for a long time. Very powerful updrafts. So heads up there in Strang and Langley. And also in Spavinaw, as we're looking at a pretty strong storm now moving in. Now, well to the south, down into northern parts of Louisiana, this is an area where we've still got a lot of instability. So that's an area that we really want to keep a close eye on over the next few hours here. You see there is a severe warning for Claiborne, Lincoln, and Union counties going until the top of the hour, looking out for some hail and wind in that case. And then here is that great big collection of flash flood warnings that Keith mentioned, including this flash flood emergency now in Jonesboro. And we zoom on down and take a look at what prompted that. Again, major flooding, a lot of roads with 2 feet of water on them, and it's still very much raining across this area. We've got what is called training going on here, where you've got individual storms that are running past one another, and the whole area is not moving that quickly. So the storm motion is to the northeast, but the entire axis of this rain is really rather slowly moving to the east. So we're going to continue to have this ongoing flash flood threat there in Arkansas, and that's going to scoot a little farther eastward, we think, overnight tonight. So let's talk about the forecast for tonight. And there's your area of concern for severe weather. We're seeing less and less of a concern farther north. There's just not that much instability well off to the north there. And looking at some of the Torcon values that will be in play tonight, we're talking about this is actually, we've just downgraded this. This is going to be a 4 here in eastern parts of Oklahoma and also Texas. Still looking at a 5, though, in northern Louisiana and also in Mississippi. 4 there right along the coast of Texas. And then tomorrow, very strong winds coming up into the Ohio Valley, but we will be looking at mostly a threat down in the deep south. Keith, over to you.
All right, real quick, Carl, we want to show you that they have continued that tornado warning on the same cell. They admit it doesn't look very good, and it doesn't, but they just want to be safe with this supercell that has a history of producing tornadoes. All right, welcome back here. This is a look at Claremore, Oklahoma earlier, where there's a tornado that has touched down, and some reports of damage in that area as well. This is a tornado that moved through north of Tulsa, on the north side of Tulsa. It was seen from the airport, seen from a lot of different vantage points. So far, we do have reports of 9 people that may have been injured or at least transported to the hospital. We will get more information on that obviously, as the night goes on. Here's a look at the brand new video here from it at the airport. You're looking at this across fuel trucks there at Tulsa's airport, and just really dramatic stuff.
No, it's past that.
Actually see some multiple vortices within that.
And the rain shaft on your right, obviously tornado in the middle, and as Carl's mentioned, you can see a little tighter vortices within the rotation between that cone shape and the actual ground. And that's most representations we've seen of this tornado tonight have been like this. They didn't go all the way to the ground in a traditional wedge type.
Right there. That's at least 2 or 3 multiple vortices rotating around each other.
These little horizontal tubes there a little bit.
So right there at the base, you see a bunch of different perturbations there, and those are all those multiple vortices. So they're basically individual tornadoes within the larger tornado vortex. You've got that area of cloud that's coming down. So right in here, this is the condensation funnel right there, but it looks like the tornado is not actually touching the ground, but the actual tornado circulation is probably doing something much more like that. And then within that, you've got these individual circulations that are rotating from left to right there about each other. We could put that back into motion, and you can make that out as they're circulating from left to right there. So that is a very strong tornado, and you know, that's certainly concordant with what we saw in terms of the debris field. And you can see how the debris field is actually sort of widening out there. See how it's actually being sort of ejected out from time to time. That is something else. I mean, that was the storm, I believe, when it was peaking, or very close to it.
And this is part of, but not all of the reason that sometimes certain houses right next to each other are damaged more than others, because within that tornado, not everything is equal. So amazing video there, and still a threat ongoing. So we're going to stay with you here until midnight Central Time, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. You just heard from Carl Parker, Sarah Dillingham also here with us tonight, and we're going to break down the remaining threat and what's still going on, and obviously bring in updates on the tornado that already touched down. If we can broaden this out real quick before we get to Carl and talk about watches and warnings we still have right now.
Yeah, we still have a few. You know, you can see these severe thunderstorm watches to the west have been significantly shaved off, so that's the good news. We still have a good bit of instability out there, but the threat is waning at this point. We're starting to see a little bit reduced numbers of storms here in these areas, but again, you see how late these tornado watches go until 10 p.m. Central for portions of northern Louisiana and southern Arkansas, but move to the east, and then Mississippi and Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, they're getting in the action potentially, and actually that should say 3 a.m. Central Time, not 10 p.m. Central Time, so that's 3 a.m. for that eastern watch
into the morning hours there. All right, let's go over to Carl. And Carl, right now we don't have any of the storms of the strength that we had an hour and a half ago, but there's nothing to limit them from doing that, and there's still tornado warning on that same supercell that did produce one earlier.
Yeah, that's right. It's not looking nearly as well defined as it was, so that's good. That's certainly better. And in general, as Sarah mentioned, I think the threat is going to be coming down, but we will see a very strong area of low-level winds at about a mile up in the atmosphere, and that is really ideal for tornadoes if you can get storms to punch up high enough to really take advantage of that. We're going to see a big mass of thunderstorms coming across Mississippi and Louisiana through. Those low-level winds are going to be so strong and getting stronger, there is going to be an ongoing tornado threat. So we've got torcons of 5 in Louisiana and also in Mississippi through the overnight. On your toes in those areas. Let's take a look at the warning. This is the warning that continues now from the storm that produced that tornado earlier, and this thing is not nearly as well formed as it once was. It's really beginning to lose a lot of its structure right now. We're seeing a little bit of a hook, but it's very ragged. Nonetheless, a tornado warning going for Delaware and Mays until 9:30 Central Time. There's a closer look at that hook, so the area that we want to really pay attention to is right in here. We want to see if there's any sort of circulation that's showing up, and seeing some inflow certainly there. So there's a little shear line. There's an area where winds are coming into the storm, and then winds are coming out from behind the storm just like that. So right along that interface is where you might find a tornado, but that is not a terribly strong shear line right there. So at least right now, it does not appear that we've got as much of a tornado threat with the storm. So that certainly is some better news relative to what we saw earlier. This is the area I'd be concerned about. This is northern parts of Louisiana. You notice there is some additional development right in there. You've still got a very unstable atmosphere, so there's a lot of fuel for these storms as they come across central parts of Louisiana. That's something we want to keep in mind. Also now to the west, we're seeing a little bit of development just north and west of Dallas and Fort Worth. Some individual cells here right on the dry line that are beginning to pop up, and we'll see if those can maintain themselves. If they can, they're in a pretty good position. You've got a pretty unstable atmosphere out ahead of those now as well. And then much farther east, we'll take a look at the other ongoing threat. Oh, by the way, there's a brand new tornado warning. I'll go back up to that. That is now in southeastern Kansas. That is Cherokee County under warning until 9:30, and we'll see what's going on with this particular storm. And so, yeah, we'll look at the couplet right in there. It's a broader circulation. Now, we're shooting fairly far away. Unfortunately, this is not a great spot for the radar. The farther you get from the radar site, the higher up the beam is going to be, because as the beam is going out, the Earth is curving down to the south of that, basically. So we're not getting a look look at what's going on near the ground. Rather, we're looking at the mid-level circulation, but that is a pretty strong mid-level circulation that's showing up on the radar right there. Look and see if there's any evidence of debris. I'm not seeing that right now, but again, a stronger circulation coming towards Route 69 and also Baxter Springs. We can go ahead and time this out for you and take a look at where that's going to be headed over the next few minutes here. Looks like that'll be getting over towards Spring Valley, Lowell, and Galena as well. I'm going to go ahead and double check, get a look at the motion on that storm. Sarah, did you see how fast that was moving?
Let me see. This is moving northeast at 35.
35 miles per hour. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit quicker than what I've got right there. But basically, that's going to be coming right towards 69 and a broader circulation right now, but not in a really good place to see it because we are in sort of a radar hole in between radars there, unfortunately. We'll continue to keep our eyes on that. And then the other ongoing story is this flash flooding, and that's just getting terrible in some areas. In Jonesboro, got a flash flood emergency right now, 2 feet of water on a lot of the roads, major flooding now in Jonesboro. So please be very careful if you've got to go out tonight. Also quickly looking at tomorrow, going to see very strong low-level winds coming up here, Keith, into the Ohio Valley, but not as much instability. A lot of instability across parts of the South. Could be a rough day.